And Alex Jones. Now then, our guest tonight is an award-winning documentary maker who immerses himself in his programmes.
Whether that's being thrown about by wrestlers, going under the surgeon's knife, or becoming a mean gangster rapper.
A 62 in a compact.
MC Louis T.
Or as everyone else calls him, Louis Theroux.
Lovely to see you.
Yes.
How are you?
Thank you
That
very much.
was actually very impressive, that. I quite like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've got a little bit of flow, but that was 10 years ago.
You genuinely do like rap music, don't you?
I do, yeah, I do. I mean, I can't claim to be an expert, but I keep up with some of the... They call it dope boy rap. There's a brand of this sort of gangsterish rap that is very street, quite mean, and yeah, I do follow it.
Great, okay, well you are famous for your weird weekends. Now looking back at the last weekend, would you have rather made a documentary about the anarchists who smashed up London during the protests there, or would you have liked to have gone along to Prince William's stag do?
Oh, it's a toughie.
I think
This is a documentary, by the way, yeah.
I'd have to go anarchists, I think, because I think the access would be a little bit easier. With the Prince William one, I think you'd be banging your head on a brick wall, really.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay.
Well, we look forward to hearing about your new programme very shortly.
Now, in one of his previous documentaries, Louis investigated the cosmetic industry and met people who had surgery, even though medically they didn't really need it.
Tonight we've got a story at the opposite end of the scale.
3 years ago, 49-year-old Maz Albrecht was diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver.
At the time.
Especially because she's in control of, giving somebody else that chance. But we've now been joined by Dr. Sarah Jarvis, and good to see you, Sarah. Now, that film was made a few weeks ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So how is Maz these days? And I'm guessing she hasn't changed her mind.
She hasn't changed her mind. Of course, we've got to put it into perspective. If it wasn't for Thames Reach, the charity that turned her life around, she wouldn't have had those amazing 5 years.
Yeah.
So she hasn't changed her mind, but she's pretty stable. She's very tired, but she's not back in hospital.
No, that's good news. But liver disease is a bigger killer than what people think, and it's not cheap to treat either, is it?
It's not cheap at all to treat. It costs about £100,000 to give somebody a liver transplant. But of course, so many diseases are very expensive to treat. But liver disease, probably the 5th biggest killer in this country.
Right. And how are the numbers then waiting for those transplants now? Are they increased, decreased, and how many are kind of drink-related?
Unfortunately, the proportion of people waiting for livers where it's a drink-related problem is going up all the time. It's gone up by about 60%, the proportion, in the last 10 years or so. Having said that, about 1 in 4 livers is because someone's got alcohol-related liver disease. The rest are non-alcohol related. But of course, loads of other people need transplants too. So if anyone is vacillating about whether or not they should be an organ donor, don't wait. Do go and make yourself an organ donor.
Absolutely. But how do the NHS then decide who goes on top of the waiting list?
Well, we don't play God. It's all down to physically, can you take it? Psychologically, can you take it? There is a super acute list for if you go into really acute liver failure, if you're really not going to survive very long, and that's nationwide. And of course, they've got to make the most of this really scarce resource. So if you're over 70, I think probably quite rightly, they want these really precious livers to last somebody, many, many decades.
Yeah.
So if you're over 70, you're less likely to get on the list.
Right. And how about the kind of the livers themselves? I mean, because there have been a few cases, haven't there, where unhealthy organs have been transplanted.
Unbelievably rare. The tragedy is all those hundreds of transplants out there being done successfully. We never hear about them. Silent heroes. One problem, we hear all about it. It was one patient who had an incredibly rare form of cancer, and she gave 2 kidneys.
Gosh.
Usually there are so many tests that are done. They're tested to make sure you haven't got hepatitis, to make sure you haven't bloodborne diseases, to make sure you're otherwise healthy.
Yeah.
So loads that can be done.
And Louis, what do you make of Maz's situation then?
Oh, I think it's very brave that she did quite an ethical decision in a way. Sometimes I wonder if we put too much store by extending one's life and not enough into the quality of life. She's decided that,
Yeah.
Not an easy decision to make, though.
Fair enough. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Sarah Jarvis. And of course, our best wishes to Maz too.
Absolutely. Now, most traditional artists use oils, chalks and paints to create the perfect picture. Louis, are you much of a fan of art?
Oh, yeah, I love a bit of art, sure.
Yeah?
Put around the gallery, yeah. With 2 small kids, I don't get to go as much as I'd like.
Right, okay. Oh,
Okay, well, you like this next one. Tonight, Jazz Brandreth is not only using a new type of brush, but a whole new canvas.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Louis, are you a fan of computers?
Well, Charles didn't do that painting, though, did he?
Well, he He did the sky. He coloured it in. No.
Get a bit of help.
Sure, yeah. The iPad, it's all very exciting. I use it for games, mainly.
Yeah.
Right. Angry Birds, that kind of thing.
Well, we asked the same artist as in the film there to create you using her tablet computer, so here it is.
He's very quick, as you can see.
Goodness.
Amazingly quick.
Isn't that good, though? What do you reckon?
That is amazing, yeah. Yeah, I don't think Charles was involved in that one.
The sky.
Yeah. He didn't trace that. That was actually freehand, was it?
Yeah.
I like that. Maybe you can email it to me.
I'm sure he will. I'm sure he's watching anyway. Now then, your new documentary sees you returning to a subject that you kind of covered before. It's extraordinary. A right-wing Christian family in America. The title of the most hated family in America. Before we talk about it, let's have a look at the moment where you find out that you've just become their new poster boy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Can you explain why they're so angry with you?
They believe that they're virulently anti-gay. That's their main thing, and they picket the funerals of dead soldiers. And I made a film about them about 5 years ago called The Most Hated Family in America that showed them, I think, for what they are, which is scary, hateful people who also have human qualities. But and I spent 3 weeks with them. And now I've gone back to make this follow-up film, but in the meantime, obviously, they've seen the first one and have an opinion.
So obviously you were expecting some reaction. I mean, a lot of your programs are all about the discovery. You go on a journey, everybody kind of, sees all the information coming out. So, but this one, how did you feel? Why did you decide to go back if you kind of knew that reaction?
I went back because two of the girls that I'd interviewed the first time decided to leave the cult, I should say, family. I think they are kind of a cult, but after the film went out in a few years after and got in touch with me, one of them emailed me and said that our conversations were an influence on her decision to leave. So that's almost a personal stake in the story. So I decided to make it partly about the people who've left and how they feel about having been in it.
Right.
And then in the course of that, discovered that the family itself was getting even weirder, in my view, that they now viewed Obama, spoken of in the Book of Revelation, and that the end of the world was very close. But it was very strange going back because obviously they'd seen me, they knew me, so it was much more gloves off this time.
But I mean, saying that, it was argumentative because you became quite vocal, especially towards the end of the programme. Did you think that you were going to lose it at any point?
Well, I didn't think that I was going to start beating them up or anything. I did, I don't find it a strain or a struggle to keep my composure in general, but I did find that I was relating to less as journalistic subjects and more almost as just people I knew in my private life, the side of me that just sort of is a bit, so you see that side of me a bit more. And actually I think it's really good for that.
Yeah.
You see me getting impatient and a bit more personal.
The new side to you, Louis.
Yeah.
Right, well, there you go. Now then, there are believed to be over 100 billion stars in our universe, but from most towns and cities, you only can see a handful of them.
Yeah, as our astronomer Mark Thompson demonstrates, there is one dramatic way to improve the view.
In the old days, everybody turns everything off.
Or as he said, between 3 and 4 in the morning.
But certainly after 7:30.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
See what I'm doing, mate, can't you?
Now, Mark, you brought the box that does stuff along with, as you said in that film. So what stuff does it do?
Well, it measures, get this, it measures magnitudes per square arc second. Sounds grand, but it basically means it measures light and it turns it into a number. So you can actually measure the brightness of the sky. You can use it to see how things are going, if things are improving or not.
Okay, so what can stargazers out there expect to see then over the next few weeks?
There are some exciting things to look for. If you look due west or just after sunset, the sun's gone down the west, look due west, you can see Jupiter low on the horizon. That's a really bright planet. It will be in the twilight sky, but you can see Jupiter, and then just above it is Mercury. Mercury is actually really hard to find because it's so small and so close to the sun. So we can see those two planets just after sunset for the next week. If you turn to your left about 10 o'clock in the evening, are you following me? Turn left, 10, 11 o'clock at night, turn left and face south, then you'll see Saturn just there in between south and east, and that's about halfway between the horizon and overhead, quite easy to find.
If they haven't even done a little map like we've got there, are they different colours or anything?
It doesn't look like that in the sky, unfortunately, with a ring around it. Planets don't twinkle, stars do. So if you twinkle, little stars, it'll nurture you on. So if you find a planet, if you see something that's not twinkling, invariably that will be a planet. It makes it easier to find.
Right.
Now there's an epic anniversary coming up, isn't there?
Yes, there is. 1961, 12th of April, 50 years ago, is when Yuri Gagarin was launched aboard the Vostok spacecraft. I think he was in orbit for about 108 minutes around the Earth at a height of just over 300 kilometres.
Wow.
He was an absolute hero to have done that. No one had ever done it before.
And is it true as well that the controls were actually strapped down, so you have no control?
No,
of the
he
shuttle?
didn't. Done a lot of, done a lot of experimentation with weightlessness on dogs and animals, but had no idea how humans would react to it. So yeah, absolutely, it was all controlled by scientists on the Earth.
Yeah.
There was an emergency code that he could have used had things gone wrong, but he had no control. He was a passenger
Amazing.
on the way back.
Oh, incredible bravery. Yeah. I can't imagine just being the first person up with no control. But anyway, somebody else who's very, very brave indeed is Ruth Goodman, and she's been travelling back through time for the One Show discovery how the nation kept itself clean.
Tonight, Ruth is soaking up the hygienic history of the Georgian era, appropriately in baths.
These days a little bit too much.
Yeah, I think it's gone a bit far. Constant showers, people who shower 2 or 3 times a day, and selling different soaps and toiletries. I was thinking about that village where they switch the lights off. Maybe at midnight they should switch the water off as well.
That would be good to do. Turn everything off.
Yeah, turn it all off.
Well, listen, Louis, thanks ever so much for your coverage.
Yes.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. And America's Most Hated Family in Crisis this Sunday, BBC 2, 9 p.m. Oh, it's been super nice.
Yes. Tomorrow, Gardener's World's Monty Don will be here, so we'll see you at 7. Have a great evening.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.